Welcome back to another episode of the Employee to Boss podcast. I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Heather Jean. Before we get into that, I have a super exciting announcement. I launched my first course. This course is all about how to be a podcast guest and do it successfully in a way that will help you grow your visibility, your business, get you clients, increase your income. I go over everything you need to know about how to find podcasts, how to pitch yourself, how to prepare for it, how to set up your tech, and really how you can actually make it worth your time, because the conversation may be fun. You may have a great time being a guest on a podcast, but are you getting what you want out of it? That's the real question. So I am super excited. This will be in the link in the show notes, and it will also be on my website. If you go to espressopodcastproduction.com/courses, you will be able to see my very first course. I am so excited for you all to check it out, especially if 2022 is a year that you want to start growing your business by being on podcasts. I'm starting it off at a very low cost, so definitely get it sooner than later because the price will be rising. Okay, now about this episode. I'm speaking with my friend Heather Jean about confidence. She is the host of the Confidence Through Cabaret podcast, and in this episode, we talk a lot about how to grow your confidence, how she has grown her confidence to a level that she can coach other people on it. She's a cabaret performer, and so we talk a lot about age and how age shouldn't hold you back. She says that she's the oldest one typically performing, and so really it's about being confident in yourself enough to be able to do these things and not take other people's criticism. We also talk about how change signifies growth, change in your business is welcomed, change in your life can be a good thing. We also really dive into imposter syndrome. She has been generous enough to share her webinar link with all of us. It's all about how to get rid of imposter syndrome, so definitely check that. But this conversation was so much fun. I was on her podcast a couple of months ago, and we had such a good time recording. She's just such a joy to talk to. I love her energy, everything about her. I feel so inspired when I talk to her. So I am very excited for you all to listen. All of the links for Heather will be in the show notes, as well as that link to my newest course. So if you download it, send me a message. I am so excited to hear which type of podcast you get yourself on, how it helps you find clarity on your branding, your podcast. There's a lot in this course, and it's very, very informative. So definitely check it out sooner than later. Again, that's espressopodcastproduction.com/courses. It'll also be in the show notes. So let's get right into this episode. Today, I'm speaking with Heather. She is absolutely amazing. I was just on her podcast not too long ago, and it was a conversation I was not expecting to have at all. It was all about confidence and really just putting yourself out there and not being afraid to do what you believe you're meant to do. And so I thought that she'd be perfect for this podcast because a lot of business owners have to be confident to show their face, get out there, start their business, put themselves in a vulnerable experience. And so I am so excited to welcome you onto the show, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited and I'm so thankful for this podcast. I think it's a great idea, and I wish that I had had something like this when I was starting. So I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. And that's why I love talking to so many experts in different fields, because you can learn so much from people not even in your same industry. That's really how we grow and learn in business.
It really is. And I think, there's always learning. So, a lot of times we think we have to find people in our industry and follow what they do, but there's lessons in everybody's story, and there's lessons in, when people are sharing that, how many times they, started a business and it failed, or how many, and then they started again. And then when we look at is, oh, they look so successful. Why can't I do that? And it's really so great if you can explore people's stories and then pick out the things that are most relevant or resonant with you at that moment. And that'll change at any point in your career or in your business.
Absolutely. And it's allowed to change. We don't have to stick with what we originally thought our plan was.
No, my latest business has changed so many times, and when I look back on what my business was supposed to be, it's not like that at all. My business was going to be purely for cabaret performers, and I very rarely get to talk to cabaret performers in my business now.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to talk about your background. So you are the host of the Confidence Through Cabaret podcast. You yourself are a cabaret performer, correct?
I am. I'm a burlesque and aerial pole performer.
That's so amazing. And so how did you get started with that?
With Confidence Through Cabaret or with performing?
With performing.
Oh, well, so I have had my own training and coaching consultancy for over 25 years. And so I run big conferences for corporations, or I did before COVID. And I was used to taking up space, or so I thought, and I was used to, raising my voice and sharing. I never used a microphone. I could run a whole room sometimes for days on end, and I never seemed to run out of energy. But there was one day I woke up and there was a voice that went, "You need to do burlesque," and I didn't even know what that was. And I never have those little voices, I was curious enough to find out about it. And what I found out was that there was a huge void inside of me that was saying, I'm not authentically taking up space. I'm taking up space in ways where I know how to run my training consultancy. I know how to talk to clients. I know all about leadership and interpersonal skills. Just, I can do it on autopilot. I was so good at that persona. And so when I went to find out more about, I did a taster session and find out more about, the burlesque and aerial world, then I was so uncomfortable because I didn't want to take up space as me. Right. So there was the career me that had it all figured out. But then there was the kind of personal me. And that was where I needed to start diving into some of those feelings around confidence. And people use, I think we've talked about this, people use a fake it till you make it expression a lot. And I was a master of that, but you have to at some point come back to your authentic self. And that's how you find your alignment. And that's how you find your path. And I loved what I did. I never thought I'd stop, but I am so much more aligned now that I get to share my personal story, now that I get to share confidence tips through things I've learned in cabaret and taking up space on the stage and stepping in spotlight literally on a stage. And so, all of that was just such an incredible journey that I found the strength to perform on a stage, and then I found the strength and the knowledge that I would need to start a business with it. And I will say I had major issues about being on stage because of my age.
Tell us about that.
So I'm by far the oldest in my aerial studio. I'm also the least mature, but that's fine because I love to play and I love to experiment and explore. And what would happen if I just took my hand off while I was hanging on the aerial equipment and, things like that. I love to just kind of test it and push the boundaries a little bit. And when it came to performing, I thought, well, nobody wants to see that. Like, I'm over 50. Nobody wants to see that. And I really struggled with it because, first of all, I didn't see other people like me doing that. And second of all, because I had a lot of kind of things around my body that I wasn't so comfortable to publicly share and open up for judgment, right? And if you're going to perform on a stage, you have to be okay with people not being okay with you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many people in their corporate careers. Let's say they're working at a huge company, and that's really their whole identity. They may be older in life, they may be, more advanced in their career, but it might not just be filling their cup anymore. Like you're saying, you loved your career, you loved it, but you realized it wasn't what you wanted to be forever, right? It wasn't what you wanted your whole life to be. And so then you really found something to present yourself and show yourself off and take up that space. What do you think is one tip you could share with anyone who may be like in the same spot as you and is starting to realize that and just wants to take that leap.
Well, and I think this can work on the other end as well. You know, if you've got younger listeners, I had a very similar problem or obstacle. It's not really a problem, but I had an obstacle when I was in my 20s. I was very successful in management, and I became head of training for a major international airline in my 20s. And people said, "Oh, we're not listening to you. I'm not listening to that young girl." You know,
Right.
I used to try and hide my age then too. So it's not just about aging, and I'm in denial about aging because I just think the for your age needs to be exterminated permanently. Like it's just there is no for your age. You know, if your path opens up, then follow it and see where it takes you, whatever stage you're at. You know, so if you're just starting out and you think, oh, nobody's going to listen to me because I'm just out of university, or I didn't even go to university, or you know, I'm 20 and I'm on my third business, or what, you know, I think it's not really about making age our thing. It's more about, I have the skills, knowledge, and experience that I want to share with you. And then, you know, really fully committing to that.
Yeah.
We can tell when somebody's fully committed and when somebody's not, right? Because there's no congruency if somebody's not fully committed. You know, if you have passion behind it and you really have put in the work and you know what you're talking about, then share it with conviction. Don't apologize, don't explain. That's my rule.
I love that. I love that a lot. I mean, that's in all things, business, relationships. You can tell when someone's not fully loving it. And you want to be fully loving every part of your life, right? You need to live a full, happy life. Now, you don't have to be like going 100 in each aspect of your life. You can't be, it's hard to be 100 in your relationship, 100 at work, 100 in your personal life. It's okay for those things to fluctuate as long as you're still loving all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as long as it's all still aligned. And I think, you know, a lot of us, I mean, relationships is a great example because a lot of us stay in relationships when we know it's over and we
Yeah.
still stay. And, you know, and that whole kind of comfort zone, even if it's not a good place to be, it's comfortable. That's why it's called a comfort zone, you know. And I think it's like, you know, I try and do something new or terrifying every day. I probably do about 5 out of 7 days, but for me, it's cheaper than plastic surgery anyway, because it gets your blood pumping, it gets you, you
Yeah.
know, and it's exciting, right? And, you know, fear and excitement feel the same in our body. So you can focus on it as fear and then run away from it, or you know, end up in that fight, flight, or freeze. Or you can focus on it as excitement, and you can focus on it as something that you're looking forward to and something that you're passionate about and that you've chosen to do and you just can't wait to do it or do it again. And what's funny is a lot of the things that we're afraid of, for example, when we do a live, maybe on socials, or you know, if you did go on stage, as soon as you finish, you go, I want to do it again.
It's fun. It's something new.
Like, it's just like a roller coaster. How many times, if you like roller coasters, how many times do you get off the roller coaster and go, oh, I want to do that again, even though you were terrified in the first place?
All the time, right? I mean, it's so exciting to do new things and try new things and show yourself what you can do because none of us really know all of our limits.
No, no, none of us really know all of our limits. Is like that warrants repeating, right? You have no idea what you're capable of until you start to tap into, you know, get feedback, tap into some of your blindside stuff. If you're, you know, if you're starting a business or wanting to start a business, you know, really get some honest feedback. People telling you, yeah, you're great, this is, you can do it, it's really nice, but it's a bit like a warm bath, you know, it doesn't last. So really get some honest feedback from people, you know, gather as much as you can around that, and then really start to tap into, you know, some unknown territory. And it's through there that we start to learn more about our possibilities.
Yeah, definitely. So the comfort zone is a huge thing of why people don't start their own businesses or take that first step. Now, I love people with side hustles. I think that side hustles are just such a fun way to, you know, use more of yourself and use more of your excitement and entertainment and really find what makes you happy. On this podcast, of course, I want you to follow your dreams and start your business, be successful, but it can always start as a side hustle. what holds a lot of people back and what I really, really want to talk to you about today is imposter syndrome. I mean, we touched on it a little bit with age and all of that, but imposter syndrome is really, it's just rude. It just is rude. I have no other way to describe it. It's something that we tell ourselves that we're not good enough or we're not old enough, young enough, successful enough, when really you are whoever you want yourself to be, right? And
Yeah.
so, what are some ways that you overcame imposter syndrome
Okay,
or
so
times that you incur or like times that you experienced imposter syndrome?
well, I still do. I mean, I think that this is the thing is, there are a lot of programs that talk about like overcome your imposter syndrome. You can learn to take control of it. I tend to talk about imposter voice because I prefer that rather than I don't have a syndrome. Like it's really heavy. So I tend to talk about my imposter voice as a part of me. And if we can make friends with that, if we can get that in control and get that on side, then, because our imposter voice is warning us of danger, right? Which is a good thing if you think about it back in the days when the tiger was going to eat you,
Mm.
so we need those warnings, but we need also to be able to have voice of reason and voices of strength to be able to say, okay, but am I really in danger here? Is this something that's really going to be bad for me, or is this just something that I'm feeling fear of? So anytime I'm going to go on stage, I really try now to focus on the excitement, right? So I'm excited to be here. I've chosen to be here. I want to be here. I want everybody to have a good time. I'm going to have a good time. But there is that fear that still comes in of, what if I fall? What if something happens? And I've seen some of the most terrible things happen with props and costumes and things and as long as you're having fun, then your audience, they want you to do well. So I try and use that same analogy whenever my imposter voice starts to make some noise. And I try to remember that it is just there to warn me, and it's not there to stop me. And so
Mm.
I no longer let that imposter voice stop me from doing the things that I want to do or want to at least try or learn or whatever it is. So if you're going to start your own business and you're going to have a side hustle, then, but you don't like to show up live on Facebook, then trying to do it. And then there's other parts of our imposter voice. There's several archetypes of our imposter voice. So it might be really critical, and it might be telling you, you didn't do it right, or you were going to say that thing and you forgot. Nobody knows you forgot because they don't know what you were going to say. So they don't know if you said something different. It doesn't matter. So I try to kind of temper that with with other voices. And it's funny how when we're really leaning into imposter syndrome, we're not challenging that voice. We're not kind of going, hold on a second, that's not actually true. I do know enough. I have put in the work. I did get the certificate and I don't need 9 more. I deserve the compliments, and I deserve to celebrate in the things I've done well. And so we very often don't challenge that voice. And so I like to work with other voices within us as well that challenge that voice and go, okay, hold on, back in your corner here. I'm safe and I deserve this, or I want this, or I'm going to do it anyway, or whatever it is. And I don't know if you remember when we did your episode on Confidence Through Cabaret podcast, I asked you what was your stage name. But I always ask my guests that, like, what is your stage name, right? And it's funny how many people go, I don't know. I'll need to think about it. Oh, and it's like, no, I could see it in your eyes there. Um, you did know what it was, and you did, and you said it to yourself. But then we start to evaluate it, right? We start to go, oh no, I couldn't possibly call myself Queen Heather or whatever, because that's not the right name, or that's not clever enough, or I couldn't call myself a queen or whatever. And so, but if we can tap into that, then we can use that voice to talk to our imposter voice and go, okay, hold on a second, we got this. Like, I am fierce, I'm strong, I've done the work, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to do this with passion and conviction.
I love that. That's awesome. I love that we have so many different voices in our heads that we can tap into. but a lot of us only tap into that one imposter voice or the doubting voice. We have moments where we're very confident and very excited about what we're doing, but anything can change. Anything can change in an instant. And so I would love to hear about when you started your business, you were expecting to work with cabaret performers, cabaret artists, those people. And now, who do you work with? Like, what shifts happened?
Now I work with women in femme identifying to help them build confidence in their personal life, work life, and stage life. So body confidence is a huge part of my work. And I think, a lot of us kind of think, I'd like to change this part of my body. And in fact, I probably don't know anybody. I mean, if people like Beyonce are talking about it, then, you just know that we all have a thing. If you have straight hair, you want curly hair. If you have curly hair, you want something, and so it goes on. We always want something else. But I really kind of try to help women identify where they have confidence already that's working for them, because I truly believe in start from where you're strong, right? So find out what's working. And then, so say, for example, somebody wanted to start a business and they've got a full-time job or even a part-time job, then it's like, what is it that you do well there? Because you can transfer those strategies, right? You may not be doing the same things, but you can transfer the competencies and the behaviors and the attitudes, and you can transfer that into whatever it is that you want to start up, or your side hustle or your new business. So it also works with personal life. So for example, you'd see a cabaret performer, they look super fierce on stage, and then it might surprise you to know that in their personal life they can very often be very insecure and very shy, and they hide and they don't like to be seen, and they shrink like the rest of us, or like a lot of us. And so I'll sort of say, okay, how do you take that energy and transfer it into the places where you want to grow energy? So what are you doing at work that makes you feel, strong and confident? And how do you take that energy and transfer it into starting your new business, or committing to, quitting your job and taking on a new business?
Yeah. One thing that just made me think of is when I was starting my business, even now, sometimes I am so confident when it comes to my own social media, when it comes to my own posting, going live. It's something that I definitely had to work up to. It was scary in the beginning. If you scroll back on my Instagram, I probably posted like once a week, if that. But it took me a while to build this confidence around my own business. And then I found a struggle a while ago when I was working with my clients, because I wanted to impress them. I wanted them to be so happy, see the results I wanted, all of that. And so there was definitely a disconnect there. And I feel that for a lot of people, when maybe they're working with their first client. I was just listening to a podcast, and she said that her very first client, she went all out for, like created her a new book, like literally did everything. And I think that in itself is kind of a lack of confidence in your own abilities to, we know what we're doing. We have a business. Not everyone can do this, right? So, we really need to tell ourselves, yes, I know what I'm doing with my business, my client's business. Like, I'm on top of things.
Yeah, we really do. And we also need to have boundaries. Boundaries are important, especially if you're going to have your own business,
Mhm.
because you're going to need boundaries between your personal life and your work life, and then your kind of community, your family life, or whatever other parts that however else you split your day up. You're going to have to be able to say no to some things in order to say yes to other things. Otherwise you could find yourself working like I did when I started Confidence Through Cabaret, because I was used to having a business. I knew how to talk about interpersonal skills and leadership, and I knew how to coach, and I knew how to do all of those things, but I didn't know how to navigate the online world. So very often I would be there at 10 o'clock at night, and I would, sort of start my day maybe about 11 o'clock in the morning, because just with time differences, that works well for me. I'm in the UK, so, give North America a little bit of a chance to catch up.
Yeah.
And so I would have like a slightly leisurely morning, and then I would dive straight in at 11. And then at, 10 o'clock at night, I'd look up and think, I didn't have any food today. I didn't do anything for me today. I didn't do any of my aerial stuff today. I didn't stretch to, all the things that are my habits and that I love doing. And so I think you're going to need to have your own boundaries around that anyway. And then, so this is where my imposter voice, my perfectionist imposter voice jumps in, because it starts going, yes, but you still haven't mastered all of the social media platforms today.
All of them.
And so, yeah, like now.
Yeah.
And even if I had, or I was getting better at it, it wasn't perfect yet. And so I would go back and I would recheck and rewrite and reschedule and the whole thing. So you're going to have boundaries around that anyway. And you have to trust that, you'll practice at it. You'll get better at it. It will get easier, and it won't take so long. I mean, posting my socials, like scheduling, used to take the better part of a weekend day to get them for the whole week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not kidding. It sounds ridiculous, but I didn't know how to do it. So I didn't know how to schedule it. I didn't know what things would fail or what things would work, and so I had to just do some trial and error, which is frustrating for somebody who's a perfectionist. And also, this is where my natural genius kicks in, because I like to get things right away. Like, I don't like to do the practice stuff. I just like to go, well, I did the thing. Why isn't it done? Why haven't I mastered it yet? So I had to really kind of accept that I had to allow myself the time. And again, as you can hear, I'm now doing evenings and weekends, right? At this point, so no boundaries. And then I started to get frustrated, and I wasn't enjoying what I was doing, and I wasn't getting results yet. And so in order to kind of, master those things, I had to build in time for that, right? Like, I had to build in half a day for my socials. Now I can build in about 15 minutes because I'm really quick at it. But that's because I've put in the time.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, just choose one platform that you're actually going to work with, because I know so many people are like, oh, I need a Twitter. Oh, I need a LinkedIn. Oh, I need an Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all of those. When really, you just need one to show up. It's helpful to have others, but if you're going to post one tweet every month, it's not worth it. It's not going to do anything for you. If you're going to post one reel on Instagram every 6 months, it's not going to do anything for you. So you really just need to figure out what is the one platform that you actually want to master and that your audience is on, because that's important too, figuring out where your audience is and where you can maximize your reach, and then just focus on that. I posted something on my Instagram today that said, you're not in it for today, you're in it for your future. And that's because overnight success it's not going to happen. And if it does, congratulations, but it's not going to happen. And how boring would it be if everything we was just handed to us overnight?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, it's a good example because, when I look at social media and I think I put all that work into learning it, and then it goes and changes, and I don't want it to change. But actually, the fact that we have change, it can also signify growth and
Mhm.
opportunity. And, it's how you look at those things. And again, we're back to those voices in our head. We can choose to look at it as, actually, this is a good thing that it's evolving because it's something new I can learn, versus, oh no, and I think when you get into that, oh no, Instagram has reels and LinkedIn has events, and there's all these new things. There's so much going on. If you're overwhelmed, you've probably taken on too much. Like, just scale back a little bit and
And
figure out.
there's no shame in that. There's no shame in scaling back. We all have to do it. I do it. You do it. The listener should do it. I mean, do it when it feels right for you.
Yeah, yeah, but don't give up all the good stuff. Like, don't scale back on all the stuff that for example, I could scale back on my exercise and aerial stuff, and do more work. Or watch Netflix more. Like make sure that you're finding a balance. So scale back on where it's going to not destroy your business or limit your business, and where it's that you can add more enjoyment to what you're doing, because you have to be having a good time with it. You just have to. It's not always a good time, but you have to overall be finding that you still feel passionate and willing to put energy into it.
Definitely. So you're mainly on Facebook, correct?
I'm mainly on Facebook. I am on Instagram every day. I don't I don't use it fully and properly. I used to, and that's an example of scaling back. I was on it all the time. And every single moment people would look at me, I would be on my phone and I'd be liking, engaging, messaging, because Instagram is fast.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas for today, it's now 20 to 7. I haven't looked at Facebook today, and yet that's my main platform. I will do, I'll put some time into it. But I had some time off earlier. And so and that's the beauty of having your own business, right? I can kind of choose when I do things. But I just couldn't be on Instagram all that time when my audience is mainly on Facebook, and that's where I need to be putting my energy towards. So I had to scale back on some of my Instagram. I still do, like I say, I post every day. I engage as much as I can, but I'm not constantly on it. And same with LinkedIn. I was on LinkedIn constantly. There was never a week that I didn't do 100 connection requests. I was networking and the events and the whole thing. I just couldn't do them all. And so I chose to go with Facebook events. But there are choices. Now, once you get to the point where your business is scaled and you can hire a team, then that's great. I still believe that you need to master, at least have a mastery of each thing before you outsource or delegate it in this kind of world. So if we were talking about, my corporate world, a lot of times managers don't know the technical information of their team. For example, I could go and manage a team of engineers and I know nothing about engineering, but I know how to manage people and I know how to manage results. So I could do that. It's not the same when you're online. Online, you really have to have a handle on what's going on, and you have to really be, because otherwise, how are you guiding your people if you're kind of going, go do LinkedIn? It's like, what is that? What
Right.
do you want me to do with it? How do you want me to handle it? How do and so you have to have an understanding of these things. But at some point, if you want to be on them, you're going to have to hand some of it over.
Definitely. You have to take the action and then you can outsource it. I see this with a lot of people where they don't take the time to learn what they want their virtual assistants to do or their, any assistant. And then they just kind of get frustrated and they're like, well, this isn't working. That's because you didn't tell your assistant your process. Everything has to be very unique to your business. But I love all of those tips. I would love to get into some of your favorite confidence tips that you have to share. I know you're full of so many. And so, what are some of your favorite confidence tips that you can share with the audience?
So first of all, I think we can willpower stuff, right? And it's a bit like if you've ever tried to lose weight or you've ever tried to start a new fitness program, even if you are fit, starting something new,
Mhm.
you can willpower your way, but it only works to a point.
Right.
And most especially because we're talking about being in this for the long haul, right? It's a full on marathon. So you may find that you need, in fact, I'm going to say you will find, you need to be able to delve into your beliefs around what works for you, and most especially around what's not working for you. And so with imposter syndrome, then what is it that makes you believe that you need 9 more certificates before you can launch? Or what is it that makes you believe that you need a year? I've had so many clients that have taken a year to launch their podcast. That makes me
Hmm.
crazy, because you don't.
No,
You're actually not doing a year's worth of work in that time.
definitely not.
You're doing you're taking a year to do what you might do in a week. Like you could actually do it, fairly quickly. So I think, delving into those beliefs, and especially our self-limiting beliefs, is a very worthwhile exercise. And changing those beliefs. So write down your beliefs. Write down, if I was talking to you about body confidence, then write down how you feel about your body, like that, what you believe about your body and what you say to yourself about your body. And then, and if it's your business and it's, I'm not going to make enough money, or I don't know how to do technology, or, write down those things, most especially your limiting beliefs, and then reframe those. Because you don't have to know how right away. You just have to know what you want to do. and how you're going to get there will evolve, and it'll appear before you, and you can ask. And this is where my imposter syndrome comes in, because I don't like to ask for help or accept help, but ask for help. Look, seek it out. There's so much information, and there are so many people willing to help, including Haley and myself, right? We're
Right.
the kind of people where, ask us a question and we'll get stuck in. So I would say that your belief is everything. So really kind of delve into, what are you telling yourself, and look for changing those limiting beliefs. The other thing I would say is stay focused on, well, I like to say control the controllables. So, you control what you can, you do what you can, you influence everything that you can, and then you have to let the rest go. Right. So, for example, recently, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp went down, and a lot of people went crazy. And it's like, okay, can you control it? Can you make it come back? No. So then why are we worrying about that? So I always like to reframe it with, what can you do?
Hmm.
Like, I know you can't, but what can you do?
Right.
Well, I know you can't, but if you could, what would you do? And then we can start to go into the possibilities. And those are the little places where we can influence things, and we can start to change our destiny. And you have to get good at letting go of the rest.
I love those.
And then my third thing, I mean, boundaries is my bag. Like, I could talk about boundaries forever. You really do need to kind of prioritize your own time as well. Self-care isn't just a bubble bath. It's not just 15 minutes once a week. It's not just a walk in the morning. It's self-care takes in a lot of things. It takes in our finances. It takes in our nutrition. It takes in our sleep. It takes in how we process our feelings. So, really having good practices around those will give us stamina and re-energize us. So, just keep going. Just keep going. So I constantly try and start a journaling and a gratitude and a meditation practice. And then I go, I don't have time in the morning, and exercise and all. And it's like, well, my morning would take me 4 hours if I did all the things that I want to be able to do. But you just have to keep chipping away at it. And so listening to yourself and your intuition, and listen to your body, and listen to what it is that you need, and that will help you to keep going. Because people just say, oh, keep going. It's like, well, I have nothing left in the tank. You've
Right.
got to put stuff back in.
That's awesome. I just love talking to you. I think that you're just so amazing. I love this so much. Exactly, because you can't pour from an empty cup. I hear this everywhere right now. I feel like that's one of like those buzz phrases. You can't
Yeah.
pour from an empty cup, but it's just so true.
Yeah. 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 And I think, sometimes people are like, especially with an online business, like, how do I take a holiday? Right. Like, I can schedule my socials posts in advance. Great. Um, but how do I, if I even leading a VA with it, or a team of people with it, how do I take holiday? In fact, this happens quite often in corporate life as well. A lot of people don't take holiday, which is very,
Hmm.
no chance to re-energize. And I would say, if you're in that bit where you start to feel like you're entirely indispensable, and Instagram will fold if you don't make your third post of the day, then put your finger in a glass of water, take your finger out, and look at the hole you made. you know it doesn't all have to be done right away. Like, it's like, oh, okay, it's going to be okay if I didn't do that third post on Instagram today, or if I didn't learn Instagram reels. It's going to be okay. Like, Instagram's not falling apart, my business is not falling apart, my clients are not falling apart because I didn't do all of the things.
That
Yeah,
is like so true. The world will keep going.
it
Instagram will
will.
keep going. People will continue to follow you, even if you're not showing up 3 times a day, 7 days a week, not taking any breaks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if you want to do like I don't know, maybe you want to launch a training program or something. Yeah, it's great if you have slides. You don't have to. Yeah, it's great if you have a workbook. You don't have to. Yeah, it's great if you've got lead magnets. You don't have to. Like, you don't have to have all of those things right away. There are things along the way. They're all stepping stones, and you're
Mhm.
not going to just leap to the other side instantly. You got to follow the path. You got to put
Definitely.
time in. And when you see other people succeeding and it seems so effortless and they have all these things, you don't know their story behind it. You don't know about their 4 failed businesses, or the 3 books that they started that they couldn't finish or never got published, or you don't know all of that stuff behind the scenes.
Oh my gosh, I just saw this reel yesterday from, I believe it's Rebel Nutrition. She creates courses. She's awesome. And it was a reel that said, I've created like 4 7-figure businesses, and it was like this happy noise. And then it went to her crying, and it was like, people don't know I cry like 2 times a day. And so there's totally a whole different side to, a lot of my friends when I started being an entrepreneur, they were like, wow, you can take breaks whenever. And I was like, I can't, I'm stressed. So I mean, definitely found the balance and boundaries later on, but it's not everything it appears from the outside.
No, no. And we all need help. And we all have some sort of a coach, whether it's an official one or whether it's, somebody wise that's sharing with us. We all have, some sort of a mentor. We all need, friends. We all need to find a support around us. And if you're just going into a business, then, or you want to kind of expand it and leave your day job, then that's great, but you are going to have to get really good at asking for and accepting help. And that was my biggest challenge in starting Confidence Through Cabaret, because I never needed to do that in my corporate training business. I knew how
Yeah.
to do it. I knew exactly how to do it. And whatever happened, I had 25 years, well, more than that, because I had, run training before that. So I knew loads of different strategies, and I could make it look really effortless. And there were a few people, actually, of my clients, who quit their jobs and went into training like I did, and then went, oh, this is really hard. It's like when do you ever watch the Olympics, right? And
Yeah.
you go, I could totally do that. I feel like bobsled or skeleton is like my thing. I'm like, I could totally lay on my back and race down that track. Right. And then you
Yeah.
don't know all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into getting that person there. I could never do that.
I could not either. I really could not either. Well, in the last couple minutes that we have together, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
There isn't, but I just want to say that, if you really want to do this, then you have to learn to make fear be your friend.
Mm.
And there are a lot of groups on social media that are supportive. I know, Haley, your socials are always so uplifting and supportive. I try to always make the Confidence Through Cabaret posts supportive, and I have a beautiful community if that serves you. But I love that there is those supportive places. There are also some pretty dark places, and if you find them around a corner, get out of them. Like, don't even go there. You just, life is too short to be listening to critics and other fears. And sometimes I actually did start a Facebook community a long time ago, and it all became very everybody complaining, and everybody
Oh
was just
no.
sucking each other down. And I was like, oh, I don't even want to go into my own community, because it's sucking all of the positive energy. So find a supportive network where you are welcome, and you can share your successes, and you can share your fears, and you can be uplifted, and you can do the same for others.
That's awesome. Well, Heather, thank you so much. How can people find you and how can people work with you?
Okay, so I don't do so much one-to-one coaching these days, because group programs are my passion. But I do have some one-to-one clients, because I love it. I just it's boundaries again. There's how much time is there in the day. So I do work with some, most especially around imposter syndrome and or body image and loving your body right now. So if you want to find me, I'm Heather Jean on all of the socials. Confidence Through Cabaret, if you Google it, I think there's about 2 pages on Google, because there's the YouTube channel and the podcast and the website. I have a members website on confidencethroughcabaret.com, and you'll be able to find everything else through there. Or Confidence Through Cabaret on Facebook. The community is always open for you.
Awesome. Well, I will put all of those in the show notes. And I love ending every single episode with you sharing 3 actionable tips that the audience can start with today.
Yeah. So watch your self-talk, when you catch yourself saying negative things, stop and change it to something positive. Look for the positives in things and be grateful. Find the gratitude, find what is working, and celebrate your successes. Really properly recognize them, because we so often will just internalize the negative things, or what we consider to be failures. They're life lessons. Embrace them and find the positive, and internalize and celebrate what goes well. And before you go off on a spiral about, yeah, but I didn't do these things, go back and say, but what did I do well? Also, if you are listening to this and you want to comment, I would love to know what your stage name would be if you were on a cabaret stage. Just saying.
Yes, definitely. Comment on socials. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. I'll also put my links in the bio. But thank you so much for joining me today. This was absolutely so much fun.
I would love it if anybody wants to know more about imposter syndrome. I did a webinar, which wasn't really a webinar. Like, it's not really a sales webinar. It's over 20 strategies for beating your imposter, which is way too many. It was a learning point for a webinar. I should have done 5 and then sold the other 15, but I did like everything I know about imposter syndrome. So beatYourImposter.com/webinar. If you want to go and check it out, you are so welcome to it. Well, before I take it down, like I'll have it up for a few months, but I wanted to share everything that I could to help people with imposter syndrome. So go check it out if that's speaking to you.
Such a good resource. Awesome. I will also put that in the show notes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
I love chatting with you, Haley, always. And congratulations on your podcast. I'm just happy to be part of this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.